Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Musical Book Review, the show where I take a look at some music-related books and give my opinions on them. And this week we have the books The Hacienda, How Not to Run a Club, and Robbie Williams' Reveal. Yeah, I read this. Firstly, The Hacienda. This book is all about the infamous club, The Hacienda, which was originally opened by Rob Gretton, with help from funds from Factory and also the band New Order. This book is written by the bass player of New Order, Peter Hook, and offers an insight to what was really going wrong behind the scenes. And it was definitely a case of what could go wrong did go wrong. It shows how the Hacienda helped with the rise of Manchester in the 90s and how it eventually ended due to gang violence. Now you're probably wondering, does this really deserve a book? And yes, it does. It's incredibly interesting. It's kind of like listening to your dad's drunk mate tell some wild story down at the pub. It's incredibly anecdotal, and Peter Hook really pulls it off. Thinking back on it, it really reminds me of The Wolf of Wall Street. This kind of thing you weren't around for, but hearing about it, it's just so incredibly interesting to find out this all kind of happened. Straight away, you really get invested with the club. Now, I've never been to the Hacienda. It closed the year I was born. But yet, when I got to the end, and, well, spoiler, the club closes, I actually felt kind of sad. It never gets bogged down with too much of the kind of managerial stuff. There's plenty of chapters where it's kind of in on board meetings and they're discussing all the finance issues and stuff. But it also never gets bogged down with too many side stories. Like I said, this is incredibly anecdotal. I remember there's one chapter, and when I was reading it, I was thinking, this has nothing to do with what's going on. And yet, it was an amazing chapter, and possibly one of my favourite parts of the book. Essentially, Peter Hook and the rest of New Order are away in Ibiza recording, and they end up going on a mad week, where they're just on drugs, totally have no idea what's going on. And it's maybe meant to show how Ibiza was influencing music and how that was going to eventually lead to Manchester. But it still felt like it didn't need to be there, but I'm very glad that it was. However, when I was reading some other reviews for this book, a lot of people seem to hate Peter Hook. So, I don't know, if you hate Peter Hook, maybe don't read this book. However, I would highly recommend this book to musicians or anyone who's wanting to go into business, especially music venue management. I'd also just recommend it for people who want to see a bit of history in Manchester, and if you're a fan of The Wolf of Wall Street. And you don't need to know about the Hacienda previously to enjoy it. I had no idea what the Hacienda was before I started reading. Anyway, moving on. Next, I read Robbie Williams' Reveal. Now, you're probably wondering, why did I read this? Well, originally I was going to read Flea's autobiography, however I accidentally ordered the Dutch version, so I had to ship it back. And in the meantime I had nothing else music related to read, until I went into my attic and I found my mum's copy of this. So I decided to try it, because why not, right? I can't just cherry pick everything I want to read. And I didn't finish it. I got 113 pages in. And I think the book's about 400 pages long, so just over a quarter of the way, and I really struggled to get through it. Unlike The Hacienda, which took me 3 days to read, I'm pretty sure I spent maybe a good week trying to get through this, and it felt like, I don't know, it was like trying to get through mud. Like, the more I tried, the less progress I was making. So, what was this book about? Reveal is a biography of Robbie Williams during the years 2006 to 2008, I think. I never got any further than that. But is also set in present day 2006 onwards. So it's mainly 2006 onwards Robbie reflecting on those years while also going through his business as usual in 2016. And it's just really uninteresting. It touches on very kind of sensitive topics. He talks about his time going into rehab, struggling with drugs, struggling with anxiety, stuff that we should be able to talk about and get it out there. But it's just never interesting. And that does sound horrible, but here's what I mean. There's one point where Robbie Williams just came back off tour and he's addicted to drugs again. And his managers know. And one day they come to his house and they say, "You're going to go to rehab." And Robbie Williams goes, "I'm going to go to rehab." and he goes to rehab. He talks about his time at rehab. Basically, it's boring. And then he comes back and he's no longer addicted to drugs. And that's it. And that's all the book is. And occasionally there's just other almost filler stories. And yeah, eventually that kind of repetitiveness of just, I don't know, it just really, it didn't Peter Hook me, you know? But there were some bits that I did enjoy. There was, similar to the Hacienda, sometimes it was just great watching them interact with another celebrity. There's a point where Robbie Williams has gone to dinner at Adele's house, and it was just fun to read what they were saying to each other as we kind of see them as celebrities. Obviously, just having normal conversations. There was also another great paragraph, which I will post here because I took a picture, where Robbie is talking about Radiohead's newest album, A Moon-Shaped Pool, and it just gave me a fair giggle, to be honest. But yeah, the book is just a bit too repetitive with how it's structured, and there's just too many filler stories, to be honest. There's an entire bit dedicated to how he met his wife, which, although lovely, it just seemed a bit, it's also here. It's here to show Robbie Williams was struggling to have like any sort of deep connections with anyone, and then he stopped, and now he's got a wife. It very felt like, here's a problem, solution. And I don't know. I'd recommend this purely to die-hard Robbie Williams fans. But if you're a die-hard Robbie Williams fan, you've probably already read this, and you're probably already writing a mean comment down below, which, fair enough. But I would have to say, anyway, everyone else, don't bother reading. However, thank you so much for watching. Have you read these books? And if so, what did you think? Feel free to follow From A to G on Instagram or on Twitter. The link will all be in the description. And subscribe if you want to see more of these kind of videos. Anyway, have a great day.
Happily sort of getting myself ready to leave the house promptly, giving myself plenty of time to get to the airport. That was the time I was supposed to be at the airport, or, you know, to catch the flight that I was supposed to catch. So I arrive at the airport, you know, and you know, the